Welcome or welcome back to the 8th concession. My name is Natalie. If you're new here, I share bits and pieces of my life here in Southern Ontario, Zone 5B, gardening, baking, crafting, generally just making the most of what I have. Well, today I have a little update for you. Those of you who've been with me before know that I set up a little farm stand at the end of my driveway because I have an overabundance of eggs from the ladies, because we ended up with more chickens than we imagined, and now we're having more eggs than we imagined, so I didn't want them to go to waste. I've already given them to all my friends and family. So I set up this little farm stand thinking, well, I can also share some of my other excess produce and anything else I can think of there, and I wanted to let you know how it was going. So here it is, and I keep it stocked with pretty much anything that I have extra from my garden or from the farm. This is the hedging cedar. I grew these from seed from our own cedar trees. Now they're called hedging cedar because unlike the pyramid cedar that sort of grow up tall and skinny, these will bush out really nicely, and then you can trim them to whatever shape you want, and they'll make a tight-knit barrier for some privacy or for the animals, and they have a wonderful smell. So that is my hedging cedar. The cherry tomatoes are coming in thick and fast. So I picked some this morning. So these are both Tidy Treat, and I believe the smaller ones are the Matt's Wild Cherry Tomatoes. And they were fresh picked this morning. And over here you can see I have some sugar snap peas, which again I have more than I can use. Now you might notice they're in some unusual containers, and that's because here on the 8th concession we do our best to reduce, reuse, recycle. And also it needs to be a bit cost effective. I'm not going to make any money at the farm stand if I have to buy plastic containers to put things in. So I came up with an idea to use empty Kleenex boxes. They're cardboard, so they're biodegradable, and they won't cost me anything more than the Kleenex cost me. So when they're empty, I actually cut the ends off about this high, and that makes almost a perfect pint. So my cherry tomatoes I'm selling by the pint. Now for the quarts, I actually cut the Kleenex box in half and then sort of tape it together in the middle to make quart size. And I have done some experiments with the weight. I have a little kitchen scale, and I'll weigh them to make sure that they are in fact giving the weight of a quart or a pint's worth of produce. So I'm selling my peas by the quart, and I'm selling the cherry tomatoes by the pint. Down here you can see these are my homegrown luffas. A lot of people are surprised to know that you can in fact grow luffas in Southern Ontario, Zone 5B, but I've had pretty good luck with them. So I've sold a couple already. They're great in the kitchen, especially for pans you don't want to scratch too much with, like the stainless steel type of scrubbing pads. They're also lovely in the shower. They can be cut to whatever length you want. And then of course our eggs. Now in this cooler I can fit 6 easy. I could probably fit 9 easily. I think I could fit another one on top and the lid would still close. So we collect our eggs every day. First I give the chickens a little treat. Today it's cucumber. They really enjoy a little bit of freshness on these hot summer days. And then while they're busy enjoying their treat, I collect their eggs. I give the eggs a bit of a wash. These eggs are nice and clean, but sometimes after a rain they can get sort of muddy, and I don't like to buy eggs that have mud or chicken poop on them. So we wash our eggs, and that's why we keep them in the refrigerator. So when I'm setting up the farm stand in the morning, or when I close it down at night, any unsold eggs go back in our little egg fridge down here in the basement. So they stay nice and cool overnight, and then in the morning I load them up in a cooler bag so they're easy to transport, and I carry them out to the farm stand in that. Now for the cooler, I put an ice pack in the bottom. I found this container just at the dollar store. It's the perfect width and it's only about 3 inches high. And I fill it with water and I keep it in our freezer overnight to freeze solid. And then I put it in the cooler. I put a little piece of wax paper over top. That's simply so that when I put the cardboard egg cartons on top, if there's any sort of condensation or moisture from a hot day in the ice pack below, that it's not going to make the cardboard containers weak. The last thing I need is for people's eggs to fall all over the ground when they lift them up. So you can see that I also have a cash box that locks, so it's easy to put the cash in the slot, and I just bring my key and open it up at night, which is a great way to, keep money safe. And I have a basket hanging on the side with a sign saying empty egg carton return. So the farm stand's only been open maybe a couple of weeks now, and I wanted to let you know how it was going. So in those 2 weeks, I have actually done some pretty good egg sales, and the glut of eggs that I had in the house is now down to a manageable level. I believe I've sold about 20 dozen eggs in the past 2 weeks. It's not steady. It seems some days are more popular than others, which is fine. I've also sold some veggies as well, and I think altogether I have made about $125 from the farm stand. Now, the farm stand didn't cost me anything to make. Those of you who were watching me build it saw that this is actually a desk that we've had for a long time. It belonged to my oldest son when he was in school. It's not of particularly good quality. It's not solid hardwood, and nobody in the family wanted it in their own home, so it was just sitting in our barn. So nobody, it wasn't taken away from anyone. We cut a hole in the top here so that the cooler could sit down, and I had these little wooden crates also in the barn, and so we added them for a bit of extra storage. The umbrella is just our patio umbrella, but we don't really use it anymore since we put the gazebo up. So that was kind of extra as well. And the few little baskets and things I got at the dollar store. So the biggest expense actually for the farm stand was the cooler, which I bought new. Not that we don't have coolers, but I wanted a particular cooler. I wanted a cooler with a hinged lid. The cooler we have of this size has like a lid you take right off, and that wouldn't be great for people who are shopping here. It might fall down, they wouldn't pick it up, I don't know. I wanted a hinged one to make it easier for customers. So I did buy a new one. Now I got this on sale. So it cost me about $45, which is pretty good for the size of it, but it was a big investment. So I was hoping that the egg sales would cover it, and they have. So that was actually the biggest expense, was the cooler. Other than that, oh, chickens. It must be laying some more eggs. Oh boy, more eggs for the egg stand. But other than that, it hasn't cost me anything, and that I'm really grateful for. This farm stand works on the honor system, and at first I was a little nervous, and I have to tell you a story of what happened right at the beginning. And you'll just have to ignore the chickens, I am sorry. So the first couple of days there were no sales, and I thought, well, that's pretty, to be expected. People have to kind of find us. And but then on the third day, I was excited to see some cars pull up and people leave. And at the end of the day, I came and checked. I had put 6 dozen in, and 5 were gone. And I opened up my little cash holder there with my key, and there was nothing inside. And I felt so disheartened. I thought, have I already been scammed? Am I giving away free eggs to the neighborhood? That wasn't quite the point, and I did have to earn back at least the cost of the cooler. I was really disheartened and so sad. I had checked the money box earlier because I couldn't wait. So it came time to close down the stand, and I was wondering actually if I was even going to continue with it. I couldn't afford to keep giving away 5 dozen eggs per day. As much as I'd like to, I'm afraid here on the 8th concession that's not a reality. We are not rolling in cash. Everything has to pay for itself. So anyway, I came to close down the stand, and because I think there was a bit of rain expected that night, I was actually taking some of the things in. If it's going to be a clear night, I will just take in the cooler and the ice packs and some of the vegetables so that they stay nice and cool in the house overnight and animals don't get into it. But I usually leave everything else. But this night it was going to, I think there was a chance of rain, so I took sort of the baskets, and I also took the basket where I have the empty egg carton return. Now that first few days I didn't have a sign on it. It was just a basket hanging there. I did have a little note on my whiteboard here with an arrow saying return empty egg cartons here, but I didn't have anything on the basket. And I also hadn't put anything on the white cash box. So I'm cleaning up, I'm gathering up all the baskets, including the egg return basket here, and I lift it up, and there sitting in the bottom of the basket was $25. I was elated. My faith in humanity was restored. Nobody had stolen anything from me. They just didn't know where to put the cash. So the next day you can see I've painted the words cash on the little white box. I thought it was self-explanatory, but I guess, you walk up, you're not sure what everything is. So I did paint cash with a little arrow to the slot on the money so there wouldn't be confusion, and I put the little sign on the basket saying empty egg carton return, and I haven't had a problem since. Cash is going in the cash box, and I have had some egg cartons returned in the basket. But I thought that was just a really good example of truly how honest people have been so far. I do have e-transfer on the bottom of my sign there. I have had some eggs paid for by e-transfer. I have it set up for those of you who are in Canada. I know in the US I think you can use Venmo, but we don't have that here in Canada. So e-transfer is the easiest way, and those of you who are wondering, I have it set up with a separate email for the Farmstand, and it has an automatic deposit, so there's no passwords or security questions involved. The money goes directly in, and it has worked like a charm. So I do recommend that if you want to set up a farm stand, that you do an e-transfer option, because it has been used. Although I have to say most people are using cash, and now it's all going in my cash box. And so far everyone has been honest, and it makes me feel really good to be sharing what I have with the community, for giving farm fresh, free run chicken eggs and organic produce from my garden. I don't use any herbicides or pesticides or anything like that in my garden. So that makes me feel really good, and it makes me happy that it has paid for itself, and going forward it'll be a little extra cash to probably just buy more seeds next year, or more plants. What gardener doesn't want more plants and more seeds? So if you're thinking of setting up a farm stand, I hope this video has helped you a little bit to see what I have done, how I made it cost effective, almost free, except for the cooler and a couple of baskets. So that might help you set up an inexpensive farm stand. And to be honest, driving around now, all I can do is see people's farm stands. It's like I've got it on my radar now. And I know some people go in an even more simplistic manner than this, which is great. We saw one place where they had one of those garden wagons, the metal ones, and they just put a cooler on the metal garden wagon with a sign, eggs and the cost. And so they can just roll that in and out of their driveway each day, which is a great cost-effective idea. Now, of course, that would make it more difficult to sell sort of any extra produce, but if you just want to sell your eggs, that's a great budget idea as well. But this did not cost me hardly anything except for the cooler. I've earned that back. If you already have a farm stand set up, please drop me a line below in the comments. Let me know how it's going. What sort of things have you learned through trial and error? What sort of tips and tricks do you have for me and for the other people watching who might want to do this as well with their extra produce from their small homesteads? In the meantime, happy gardening. Bye for now.